Question. Hi Kim, I have been following your websites and videos and it's slowly changing my life as well. And I'm really thankful for that. And here I'm having a few questions and doubts. Can you please give me some insights on it so that it will be helpful for me? For the sake of not getting controversy, I'm not revealing my religion and country. My question is, in my religion there are gods and goddesses having serpents as their ornaments or their servants. And there are a lot of rituals and superstitions surrounding it, like menstruation is impure, or any death in relatives or lower caste or widows or inauspicious days should not enter into a temple premises, and there are many in that list. But when I googled regarding these superstitions, it is said that the temple energies may get impure. Do the Ascended Masters really care about all these? I just want to know whether these are true or not. Earlier I used to think all these are true and there was a sense of fear in me, but later when I came here and using the decrees, somehow I can sense the energies. Now when I started going to these temples, my heart was beating rapidly, like I was having anxiety, panic attacks, and my head is very heavy, having like a migraine pain. And also my root chakra is stimulated with irresistible desire. As I am not fully aware whether it's Kundalini energies for which my body is incapable, I assume incapable of handling, or these are dark energies. I just want to know from your understanding so that I can tell to my family to stop all these rituals and worship, as these pilgrims are located in far distance and it's a waste of time and energy, since at the end we are becoming puppets giving our energies. In case if these are positive, then I will avoid for the time being, but from my understanding the above superstitions are the situations where one needs help from the divine. Okay, so the person says, in order to avoid controversy, I won't reveal my religion or country, but I think it's fairly obvious. Anyway, so what you have in the world, let me just point out the contrast. You have the outer religions, and behind the outer religions you have the inner path, the mystical path. And you have this in the East, you have this in the West, although it's probably more prominent in the East. So basically you can say, I've talked about there are levels of consciousness, right? And so when people are below a certain level of consciousness, they are attracted to these outer religions that give them an outer path, which basically says, if you're a member of the one true religion, if you believe in its doctrines, if you follow its rituals, you're guaranteed to be saved. Or it says, if you follow these outer rituals, go to the temple, do sacrifices, do prayers, the gods will grant you favors and give you what you want. So this is an outer religion. And you can look at it in various ways. You could take one viewpoint and say, it's simply what people need at a certain level of consciousness. And hopefully, over time, over many lifetimes, they go out of it and they become open to the inner path. You can also say, it's a complete lie, it's a complete fabrication, it is created by dark forces, as I explained in my video about how the world was created, in order to steal people's energy. Because you go to these temples, you worship, you do sacrifice, you give energy to these dark beings that are behind these religions and that masquerade as gods and goddesses. Now this doesn't mean that all of the beings worshipped by a certain religion are necessarily lower beings, but some of them are, if they require sacrifices or rituals and this kind of thing. So I would say, based on the description here, and of course I realize what kind of religion we're talking about, that most of these gods and goddesses are false. They are lower beings in the emotional, mental, or even lower identity realm. And they are taking people's energy. And it is, as the person says, a waste of time to go to these temples and go through these rituals. And the person is sensing this because he or she has started walking the inner path. and then you get sensitive to these energies. Now, it talks about how there are certain gods that have serpents as their ornaments. And in the East, this is an old image of the Kundalini energy. You even see it in the West in the symbol that doctors use with the staff and the serpents around it. It's actually a symbol for the Kundalini energy rising along the spine, which is taught in many mystical traditions in the East. And so there can be some validity to it, but of course the serpent also has a lower aspect, which is seen in, for example, in Genesis, where it was the serpent that tempted Eve to eat the forbidden fruit. And so obviously there are forces in the emotional realm, the astral plane, who are using serpents as well. They usually have a more negative, sinister image or vibration. So what I'm sensing from the question is that the person has started walking the inner path and has become sensitive to energy. This is one of the characteristics of following the inner path. You learn to read energy, sense energy. And so when you go to this temple, for example, these temples, you sense the lower vibration, you can get a headache, you can have physical symptoms that are very uncomfortable. And, you know, it's just, you know, I understand what the person is describing, that he or she started out having this fear of not following the rules or violating the rules, and now has begun to sense, just intuitively, vibrationally sense that this is a lower energy, the fear is a lower energy. And what I'm saying is the outer religions are often fear-based. There are so many superstitions that, oh, if you don't do this right, then bad things are going to happen. And this is fear. So you see it in the major world religions, you know. Christianity, Judaism, Islam, Hinduism, Buddhism probably to a lesser degree, but many of these religions are fear-based. Because, oh, if you don't follow the rules, bad things are going to happen. You know, and then the positive promise, if you do follow the rules, good things are going to happen. And there comes a point where you just see the hollowness of all of this. It's like many people in the West have come to disbelieve in the promises made by the Christian religion. And I've explained before, if you grew up, say, hundreds of years ago, you grew up in a Catholic culture, and you believed that if you followed all the outer rules and prescripts, you were going to go to heaven after this lifetime, because you only had one lifetime. And then you die, and you realize, oh, you're not going to heaven, you're going back into embodiment. And after this has happened several times, you now come into your next embodiment with this not conscious awareness, but a certain inner knowing that Christianity is false. The promise they are making is false. And it's the same thing with Eastern religions. You can come to a point where you have experienced over several lifetimes the falsity of these claims, and now you're coming in where you're ready to step up to this awareness that it's just all false claims they're making, and it's all based on this fear. I just want to know from your understanding, so that I can tell to my family to stop all these rituals and worship. Yeah, so my understanding is it's false, but whether I would tell your family or not is another consideration, because are they ready to hear it? Are they still at the level of consciousness where they need this? So I would be very careful and cautious how I tell this. Maybe start by testing the waters, dropping a few hints, asking a few questions. Definitely I would not recommend that you are too forceful about it. I especially would not recommend that you try to use their fear to scare them, because this could backfire, where they could turn against you. I've seen this happen. So I would recommend to be very, very careful. From my understanding, the above superstitions are the situations where one needs help from the divine. I'm not sure exactly what that means, but what I would say is that if you think about this entire superstition, right, what they're really saying is that you need to do this outer ritual in order to get some help from these gods. But in reality, what you need to do in order to have a more constructive life is you need to not rely on outer gods to do something for you, but you need to build your inner intuition to get help from the Ascended Masters and your higher self to resolve the psychology so you can be more and more free. You see how these superstitions have such a hold on people that they are completely unfree. And if you've grown up in this culture and you had a certain fear when you were young, I would say it's very important for you to realize that this fear, this belief in these superstitions, they are anchored in subconscious selves that you probably built over several lifetimes by embodying in the same culture. And you need to really use the tools and teachings that the Ascended Masters have given to separate yourself from these selves, to come to see the illusion and just let them go. And I remember going through a period myself, because I also, when I was a child, I can remember back having a certain fear of offending God, for example. That what if you offended God? And you know, I came to a point where I, even as a child, where I confronted this and realized that, and the person is actually saying here that, do the Ascended Masters really care about all these superstitions and rituals? And no, they don't. And I came to a point where I realized that the real God couldn't care about this. Now, I've talked before about the God that's worshipped in the Old Testament is really a false God created by humans. And it does care about these rituals because it gets energy from them. But the real God, the real Creator, does not care, does not need to be worshipped by people. I mean, look at the universe, right? It's huge. There's a little speck of dust called Earth. And you think that the Almighty God who created this entire universe needs to be worshipped by people on this little speck of dust and is concerned about whether we do the wrong thing or say the wrong thing or light the wrong incense or do whatever wrong in a ritual in some temple. You really think God is concerned about this? So what I'm saying is, this is the whole falsity of the outer religion, that there is this God that is so intimately concerned with everything we do and is judging everything we do. But the Ascended Masters, of course, have completely transcended this. They are only seeking to help us be free of all these superstitions and all these false beliefs. But in order to be free, of course, we have to be willing to look at it. We have to be ready to look at it. And that's why I'm saying your family may not be ready just because you are. So focus on yourself. Focus on getting rid of all these subconscious selves and really rising above the entire culture in which you grew up. Free yourself from it. So you become free, you become neutral. Then maybe later you will get some intuitive impulse to approach your family about it. Or maybe they will just ask you questions about why you've changed. So, you know, always, my approach is always, focus on yourself first. Focus on your own psychology, resolve that. In the meantime, be non-attached, just surrender whatever you may tell your family. Just let that go for now and focus on your own psychology.